All right, welcome back to our daily read aloud, Dexter the Tough.
Okay.
Today we will get a few chapters read. Hopefully you're listening better than the children in our class. Okay, voice is off. Yesterday we read a few chapters, and does anyone remember what happened last? He was out of the house, Grandma gave him something to do, and then he ran into someone at the park. Angie?
Robin, and then he was starting to bleed, and then he begged for the phone number to be right, so Robin's mom called, and Grandma came and bandaged him up, and then he was looking out the window, and then he saw him talking to his mom, I think.
Yes, so he overheard Robin say something to his mom. He didn't hear the whole thing, but something he heard made him feel really bad. Eric, do you remember?
He said that's the kid who I'm talking about.
Oh, so we have no other context. We just know that Robin said, hey, Mom, that's the kid I was telling you about. So, and Dexter said he instantly thought, oh, man, I'm sure she knows I beat him up, right? Okay. Chapter 7. So this part, I'll show you guys at home. It's at the top. It's written a little differently. This is the part that he wrote. So this is his essay right now. I'm the new kid. This morning I beat up Robin Bryce in the bathroom, the one between the office and your classroom, with the blue tile on the wall. I was mad. The teacher, Ms. Abbott, sat reading Dexter's story. She wasn't twinkling the way she did during math and spelling and health and everything else they'd talked about the entire day. Her eyebrows squinted together. This is better, she said finally. You're definitely going in the right direction. Then I'm done? Dexter asked. That made Mrs. Abbott laugh and almost, but just almost, sparkle. Oh, no, she said. Remember, we're acting like professional writers. And professional writers do lots and lots and lots of drafts. And you know what? You should save every draft so you can see the progress you're making. She pointed at the X Dexter had drawn through his original story. You shouldn't be ashamed of old drafts just because they're not perfect. Writing is a process. She studied Dexter's words again. What do you think of this version of your story? She asked. I don't know, Dexter said. It's okay, I guess. Let's pretend you weren't the one who wrote it, Ms. Abbott said. Pretend you just found this story somewhere and you read it. What would you think the writer thought was the most important part of the whole story? Dexter shrugged. He looked longingly at his own desk where he'd been working on a punctuation worksheet before Ms. Abbott called him up to talk about a story. He wasn't a big fan of punctuation worksheets, but they were much, much better than this. What does the writer of this story spend the most time describing? Ms. Abbott asked, still acting like Dexter wasn't the writer. Dexter frowned down at his story. He wished it did belong to someone else. The bathroom, he asked. Bingo, Ms. Abbott said. Great job. You win the prize. Now for the really hard question. I need Dexter the author back. Dexter, for the all-expense-paid trip to Hawaii and the side-by-side washer-dryer, tell me the most important thing about this fight. Was it the fact that it took place in the bathroom? No, Dexter muttered. Dexter hoped that Mrs. Abbott would get even sillier, pretending to be a game show host awarding the grand prize. He hoped that she would forget they were just talking about his story. But she just nodded and said, When was it? Dexter looked down at his lap. He had his hands clenched together. His left hand was holding down the hand that had hit Robin. Dexter, Miss Abbott said softly, this is a question only you know the answer to. I can only guess about why this fight was important. Does it have something to do with the reason you were mad? Was it what Robin said or did before you beat him up? Was it how you felt after you hit him? I think that's the question you need to think about for your next revision. It's a big question, so I'll only give you one. She wrote one sentence in her perfect cursive at the bottom of the page. Then she handed the paper back to Dexter. And if I forget, will you remind me that we need to talk about sentence fragments as a whole class? She said, smiling again. Dexter went back to his desk. He looked at his story again. He knew what sentence fragments were. He'd learned about them at his old school. There were little parts of sentences that got cut off from the rest of the sentence that weren't supposed to stand alone. They were things like, in the bathroom, and the one between the office and your classroom. Practically, his whole story was sentence fragments, all those little phrases that couldn't survive on their own. Dexter's eyes blurred. There was something really, really wrong with him. Now he was feeling sorry for sentence fragments. So again, what do you think is really causing him to feel emotional? Because it's probably really not sentence fragments. Cadence?
About which he beat up Robin.
Yeah, maybe about that, beating up Robin. What else causes him emotions?
She asked him why talk about why he was mad.
Yeah, isn't it a lot harder to talk about why your feelings came to be than just talk about what the feelings are? I think it is. Sometimes it's hard to know why you're mad. What else is going on in Dexter's life outside of him that causes him a lot of issues? Hayden?
His parents leaving him.
Yeah, his parents are gone. They're at the hospital, and we now know what about his dad. Noah?
His dad sick with cancer, and I think that he was sad because he asked him why he was mad. He was mad because his life sucks, that his mom had to move away and he had to move with his grandma and everything.
Yeah. And do you think he wants to tell his teacher all that and write it all on his paper?
No.
Probably not. All right, Chapter 8. Dexter hid out around the corner of the school during recess. There, he could kick pebbles without the playground monitor watching him. But he peeked out a couple times just to make sure no one was coming for him. It was a good thing he did that. The third or fourth time he looked out, he saw Ms. Abbott walk out of the school building and make a beeline for the playground monitor. They talked together for a few minutes, then the playground monitor pointed far, far past the tetherball courts and the kickball field, almost to the edge of the schoolyard. She was pointing to a boy huddled in the grass, back by a bunch of bushes. She was pointing at Robin Bryce. Ms. Abbott nodded and began hurrying toward Robin. Dexter gasped. His heart began pounding, like it wanted to burst completely out of his chest and explode right there all over the pebbles. He took off running, blindly at first, but then with a purpose. He darted into the bushes that surrounded the school grounds. Good place to hide. Have to get there first. Can't let them see me. He had to slow down when he turned the corner. Staying in the bushes, he crept closer and closer to where Robin was sitting. He peeked out and was sure he was too late. Mrs. Abbott was already there. She was crouched down beside Robin. No, Robin was saying, me and Dexter are friends. Sort of. We were at the park together last night. Then he didn't hurt you yesterday morning in the bathroom before school? Miss Abbott asked. See, Miss Abbott really does think it matters where the fight happened, Dexter thought, and she knows now that I was lying. He couldn't hear Robin's answer. Desperate, Dexter shoved leaves out of the way, trying to see Robin's face. Robin was turned the other way, but Dexter could tell from behind. Robin was shaking his head. He was shaking his head no. So what did Robin just tell Mrs. Abbott? Alex?
A lie.
Yeah, he is saying Dexter didn't beat me up. He didn't hurt me. Okay then, Ms. Abbott said, standing up. Sorry to bother you. I'm very glad to hear that there wasn't a fight. I just had to make sure. You don't know where Dexter is now, do you? Robin asked, looking up at her. I was kind of hoping... Miss Abbott gazed across the playground, squinting into the sun. She lifted her hand to shield her eyes. Sorry, she said. I don't know where he is. He's got to be around here somewhere. And then Dexter knew he was about to snort with laughter and relief. He pulled back deeper into the bushes and stuffed his hand over his mouth to keep from making any noise. Long after Robin and Ms. Abbott moved away, Dexter stayed in the bushes, shaking. He couldn't have said any more what he was holding in with his hand. He couldn't have said any more what he was holding in with his hand over his mouth. Robin lied for me, Dexter thought. He told his mother what I did, but he lied to Ms. Abbott. Why? And why would he say we were friends? Chapter 9. Last chapter for today. All right, now here's the newest update, revision of the story. I'm the new kid. On my first day here at King Elementary School, I beat up Robin Bryce. We were in the bathroom, but that doesn't matter. I was mad, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter either. The whole fight doesn't matter. It was no big deal. Ms. Abbott said. Dexter waited, trying not to squirm in the chair beside Ms. Abbott's desk. It had been 3 days since the last time he'd workshopped with Ms. Abbott. She'd said that morning that she was getting a little behind. But that's okay. Don't worry, she'd told the class with a little laugh. Lots of professional writers will take time off between drafts, so you can think more deeply about your work. Dexter felt kind of proud of his version of his story. It didn't contain a single sentence fragment. He thought Ms. Abbott would be impressed that he'd put in King Elementary School, giving an exact name. And this draft told Ms. Abbott and anyone else who might read it that the fight didn't matter. It wasn't worth worrying about. This was a safe story now. Dexter was feeling safer all around. He'd gotten really good at hiding out at recess. Thanks to the bushes, Robin would never be able to find him. When Mrs. Bryce called to see when Dexter was going to come over to get his bike, Dexter told Grandma to say his leg still hurt too much. He planned to let his leg keep hurting for a very, very long time. As far as he was concerned, the Bryces could just keep Uncle Ted's bike. Because of his hurt leg, Dexter was spending a lot of time in the house, watching TV with Grandma. Even when Mom or Dad called, Dexter just said, and sure, fine. He didn't ask any questions. He kept his eyes on the commercials for toilet paper and Pepto-Bismol and aspirin, and the whole time he was on the phone, he just said, Ms. Abbott said again. I think it's time to try something different. What do you mean, Dexter asked. Sometimes professional writers experiment a little with their words, Ms. Abbott said. Sometimes they'll write a scene from a different perspective, to see if things sound different, to help them understand all their characters' viewpoints. Sometimes they'll even pretend to be like a fly on the wall, watching the action. There weren't any flies in the bathroom, Dexter said. He didn't know why, but he could feel panic rising in his stomach. Is that what she meant by saying there could be a fly in the wall? What did she mean by that? Pretend there's a fly in the wall in the bathroom. Hayden?
That she was just trying to explain what it would be like. He could say I bet Robin felt bad that I beat up him.
Yeah, she's asking him to think from a different perspective. So if someone says, man, wouldn't you love to be a fly on the wall in that room? So here's an example. When I was a little girl, my older brothers got into some big trouble, and I could hear my parents yelling at them, but I couldn't hear what they were saying. And that's one of those things, it's like, man, I wish I could be a fly on the wall in that room. You know, they don't really notice you were there, but you could listen and hear everything. So that's what she's saying, almost like a narrator. Pretend you're the narrator watching. What do you think it would have looked like? So how would that change his story if he was thinking about someone else watching what he says happened? Noah? Right.
You know what your brother and your other brother got in trouble for?
I don't even remember anymore. I was really little. But anytime they were getting in trouble, I always wanted to eavesdrop and listen and hear them getting yelled at. Like a good little sister does.
I eavesdrop my sister.
All right. So she says, pretend to be a fly on the wall watching the action. And then Dexter said, there weren't any flies in the bathroom. So he's not getting it. Mrs. Abbott gave him a strange look. You could always pretend, she said. This is an imaginary fight we're writing about anyhow, right? Right, Dexter said. This wasn't helping his panic. Maybe you mean that flies just wouldn't fit with the spirit of the story, Ms. Abbott said. They changed the mood too much. Yeah, Dexter said. That. Ms. Abbott looked down at his story. I agree with you, she said. That wasn't what I had in mind anyhow. I was thinking that you should try writing the whole story from Robin's point of view. Pretend you're him. Tell about the whole incident as he experienced it. That did it. Now Dexter's panic was on the verge of boiling over. Any minute now he might start throwing up or screaming or crying or running out of the room. I'm not Robin, Dexter said. Really, I don't even know him. Oh. Just a minute. We got some water problems. All right. Hold on, we're almost done. All right. I'm not Robin, Dexter said. Really, I don't even know him. Ms. Abbott tapped her finger against Dexter's forehead. That's what your imagination's for, she said. She sat back, her eyes boring into Dexter's. Dexter had to work very hard to hold his panic down, to keep from letting her see how upset he was. Or, she said slowly, you could ask him to help. And we will stop there. All right. So what I want to know, if anyone's got a prediction, do you think that Dexter will write from Robin's point of view on his own, or do you think he'll ask Robin for help? What do you think, Quentin?
I think he's gonna ask for help.
Okay. Angie, what do you think?
This is not actually about that, but I think that's gonna cause a problem because when he said I don't even know him, and when he was in the bushes, Robin said they were friends.
Yeah. Hayden, what do you think?
I think that he'll ask for help.
Okay. Cadence?
Ask for help.
All right. Most of us think he'll ask for help. We'll find out. All right. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Bye.